the Premier League champions, a reborn Manchester City, the world champions, Arteta's last chance, Europa League champion, Manchester United revenge. The Premier League is no longer just a game. It's turning into something else entirely. The giants are rising, the underdogs are wounded, and the gap between glory and disaster, it's thinner than ever. Last season was a warning. This season, it's an explosion. This is not just the start of the new season. It's the beginning of the most unpredictable war the Premier League has ever seen. But how hard is it going to be? And which teams could come out on top? Well, let's talk about it. Last season looked entertaining from a distance, but if you followed it closely, you'd know something felt off. There wasn't any real competition. Liverpool were dominant, Arsenal kept the chase alive for a while, but outside of that, the rest of the so-called top six completely collapsed. Manchester United finished 15th for a club of that size. With that history and budget, that wasn't just a bad season, it was embarrassing. Tottenham? They somehow managed to finish 17th, one spot above relegation. At one point, they looked like a team that had never played together. No energy, no chemistry, no structure. Even Manchester City, who are usually the benchmark, weren't themselves, not because of poor coaching, but because of injuries and an aging midfield. Rodri was out for a stretch, Diaz missed key games, Ake wasn't fit, and De Bruyne, he looked worn out. The whole team just couldn't maintain consistency. So what did we end up with? A season where Liverpool did what they had to do and won the league with breathing room. Arsenal tried a challenge but never really got close. The rest of the big names were nowhere near the conversation, and that made the league less competitive. Sure, there were shock results, but it was mostly because big clubs were underperforming, not because the smaller teams were rising to a new level. But this new season, it's looking completely different. Almost every club has corrected its weaknesses. They've made statement signings, they've changed managers. They're not here to survive, they're here to fight. And when you look at what's forming, it's giving serious 2012-13 Premier League vibes. When people talk about classic Premier League seasons, they usually mention 2011-12, the Aguero goal, the last-minute title decider. It was historic. But in terms of difficulty, depth, and how brutal the league actually was from top to bottom, the 2012-13 season is the one that stands out, and the upcoming 2026 season, it's starting to look exactly like that. Let me explain. In 2012-13, the top 7 teams dominated the league to the point where they crushed everyone else. From the 9th to the 16th, there was about a 5-point gap. That's not a tight race, that's a survival battle for mid-table clubs. One bad week, and you could fall from 10th to 15th just like that. There was no breathing room. Every point mattered, and at the bottom, it was even worse. QPR, who finished last, had just 25 points. They only won 4 games all season. Reading, second to last, had 28 points. That's how brutal the top end of the table was. They squeezed out every bit of space and left nothing for the rest. You either kept up or you were crushed. Now let's talk about the top 7 from that season. United, City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, Everton and Liverpool. Every one of them had quality. Every one of them had a clear identity. There were no freebies, no easy games, and that's what made the league so hard. Even if you were mid-table, you were constantly fighting to stay relevant. That's the exact energy this new season is starting to give. Most of the big clubs are not just fixing problems, they're evolving. They're making real changes, signing serious players, and preparing to go all in. And that means the top 7, maybe even the top 8, could all be in form at the same time. It's a nightmare for the rest of the league, because when the elite clubs are operating at a high level simultaneously, there's nowhere to hide. So now, let's talk about who's leading the charge into this chaos. And of course, we start with Man City. Last season wasn't the typical City dominance we've gotten used to. It wasn't that they become a bad team overnight. It was more structural. The foundation cracked and Pep had no choice but to rebuild it mid-season. First, the injuries. Rodri, the heartbeat of the team, missed the most matches. Ruben Diaz and Nathan Ake, key defensive pillars, were in and out of the squad. Then the age factor. Kevin De Bruyne was no longer the same player over 90 minutes. You could see his legs slowing down. Gundogan's legs are already gone, and it left a huge void in midfield. So when the pressure hit, there wasn't enough control, not enough dominance. City struggled for rhythm, and that cost them. But Pep, being Pep, he's never passive. He's already started to reset. He let De Bruyne go, a bold move, but the right one, sent him to Napoli. In comes Ryan Cherki. A completely different kind of player, but one who can recreate some of the unpredictability and passing range De Bruyne offered. He's younger, dynamic and hungry. Exactly what City needs in that creative space. Then there's the Gundogan role, the connector between midfield and attack. Pep has brought in Tijani Reinders, a technically solid midfielder who fits into that interior role perfectly. Good on the ball, high work rate, and understands positional play. Ideal for City's system. But Pep didn't stop at the midfield. He signed Aït-Nouri, a fullback who gives him that tactical flexibility again, similar to what João Cancelo used to offer. A player who can tuck inside, stretch wide, and play multiple roles depending on the phase of play. You can see what Pep is doing. He's rebuilding the spine, the midfield creativity, positional flexibility, and tactical depth. Now, the only concern here is something we've seen before. City's new players usually need time to adapt. It's rare that anyone walks straight into Pep's system and thrives from day one. But this time, Pep has had a full preseason, and when Pep gets that time to rewire a team, that's when they become dangerous again. City might not have looked like monsters last season, but if this reset works, they're coming back stronger, sharper, and more unpredictable than ever. And just when you think City might have a grip on the title again, there's one club that's quietly rebuilding its empire, Tottenham. But before we continue this video, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Tottenham hit rock bottom last season. There's no other way to say it. Finishing 17th in the league? That wasn't just disappointing, it was a complete failure. Yes, they somehow pulled off a miracle by winning the Europa League, but in the Premier League, they look like a team without direction. Confused tactics, inconsistent lineups, and players who look lost on the pitch. But credit where it's due, they didn't sit around making excuses. They've responded with urgency. The club has decided to clean house and rebuild properly, and it started with the manager. They brought in Thomas Frank, the former Brentford boss, who consistently overachieved with a mid-table squad and one of the smallest budgets in the league. He's known for structure, discipline, and squeezing every drop of potential out of his players. And now he's getting real backing at a bigger club. Tottenham didn't waste time. They've already brought in Mohamed Kudus from West Ham, a player who's proven he can be effective in the Premier League. Kudus brings creativity, directness, and can operate anywhere across the front line. He's not just a flashy winger, he's someone who plays with purpose, and that instantly upgrades their forward options. They also added João Palhinha on loan. That's a smart move. One of the best ball-winning midfielders in the league when he was at Fulham, and exactly the kind of presence you need in a Thomas Frank system. Someone who brings balance, breaks up play, and gives your more creative players freedom to push forward. And when you look at what they're building, a clear tactical structure, a serious midfield, and dynamic attackers, you can already tell this won't be the same confused Spurs from last season. Yes, the big question is how quickly Frank can get his system working. But if there's one thing we've learned from his Brentford days, he doesn't waste time. He's always got a plan, and more importantly, he knows how to execute it. And with Spurs starting to take shape, we now move to a club that's been knocking on the door of greatness for the past 3 seasons, Arsenal.
Watching Arsenal is watching Netflix, you know. You always wait for the next season. And trust me, every season is going to be like that. So don't even get involved, Joe. You know, I'm like really nice, peaceful. Of course, you know, United right now is a disaster. But please don't speak about Arsenal, because now you're going to cry what? For the referee? Come on.
You see, Arsenal are no longer building. They're refining. Last season proved it. They were right there in the title race again, not just participating but genuinely pushing. But what stopped them? Consistency and depth. Liverpool pulled away and Arsenal ran out of solutions. Not because the plan was wrong, but because they didn't have enough alternatives when injury hit them. Arteta saw it. He didn't overreact. He made surgical moves. Not flashy, not excessive, just targeted upgrades. And that's what makes this season so important for Arsenal. They're no longer catching up, they're trying to finish the job. First major fix? Depth for Bukayo Saka. For the first time in years, Arsenal finally has a reliable backup for him. That's huge. Saka was overplayed last season and everyone saw it. He was still brilliant, but the fatigue was obvious in the big games. Now Arteta has the flexibility to rotate without a drop in quality, and that alone could make the difference in a long season. Then there's the striker situation. For too long, Arsenal have had technical forwards, but not a real finisher. Gyökeres changes that. He's strong, aggressive, and more importantly, blatantly direct. He brings something Arsenal haven't had since Aubameyang's prime, a striker that plays off the shoulder and can convert half chances into goals. Defensively, Arteta didn't just rely on the same backline. He brought in Mosquera, a smart signing to strengthen the bench and protect against injury crisis. Last season, 1 or 2 injuries to the defense changed everything, but that won't happen again. Arteta's learnt. But the biggest potential move? Eberechi Eze. Arsenal are working on bringing him in for the left-hand side, and that would completely balance the attack. Martinelli is good, but Eze offers something different. Control, dribbling in tight spaces, and the ability to link midfield to attack. If that deal goes through, Arsenal will have a dangerous front four that can break down low blocks, something they've struggled with. Every move Arteta's made points to one thing. He believes this is the year. Not to try, not to compete, to win. And just as Arsenal are preparing to go all in, another sleeping giant is quietly putting the pieces together. Manchester United. Last season was painful for Man United. No identity, no flow, and no consistency. But maybe that collapse was exactly what they needed. For the first time in years, United hit rock bottom without excuses. No papering over cracks, no last-minute goals to save the narrative, just failure and clarity. And with that clarity comes focus. There's no Champions League, no Europa League, not even the Conference League, just one game a week, and that changes everything. This United team, which has struggled with fatigue, fixture congestion, and injuries for years, will now be fully rested and fully prepared every weekend. That's dangerous. They've started addressing the weak points, starting with Matheus Cunha. He's not a traditional striker, but he brings chaos, movement, and pressing, something United's forward line lacked last season. He's already looked sharp in pre-season, combining well with midfield runners and creating overloads with his intelligent drifting. Then there's Bryan Mbeumo, a player who quietly put up over 20 goal contributions last season in a Brentford team that didn't exactly dominate possession. He's direct, quick, and clinical, but more than that, he's reliable. United haven't had that kind of consistency on the right wing since the Valencia era. Mbeumo fills a gap that's been hurting them for years. Midfield is still incomplete, and they know it. That's why they're actively searching for a new number 8, someone who can press, carry the ball, and connect play, because Mount hasn't delivered what was expected. It's a crucial signing, and they're moving smartly this window. Not rushing, but not standing still either. And up top, the big one, Benjamin Sesko. He's young, raw, and hungry. Exactly the kind of striker who thrives when the spotlight isn't blinding. United haven't had a striker who combines height, pace, and finishing like this in over a decade. If they land him, it's a game changer. Here's the thing, United have nothing to lose this season. There's no European pressure. There's no inflated expectations. Just a squad that's quietly rebuilding week by week. Ignore them and they'll catch you slipping. But while United are trying to rebuild their identity, Chelsea are trying to redefine theirs entirely. Chelsea have been unpredictable for years. One week they look like contenders. The next, they look like a team searching for chemistry in the dark. But for once, there's a sense that something is clicking at Stamford Bridge. Last season didn't start well. They dropped points early, looked confused in midfield, and couldn't settle on a front line. But then something shifted. Results turned, the squad grew into itself, and by the end, they were lifting silverware. The UEFA Conference League? Done, and with authority. The Club World Cup? They didn't just win it, they beat PSG in the final. That's not luck, that's structure meeting talent. And the summer, it's been aggressive, smart, and intentional. They've added Jamie Bynoe-Gittens, a direct, high-ceiling winger with technical flair. Then João Pedro brings Premier League experience, versatility and creativity between the lines. Both can play wide or centrally, giving Chelsea serious flexibility. But the big addition is Liam Delap. He's not a flashy name, but he's exactly what Chelsea needed. A striker who wants to be in the box, who knows how to finish with one touch, and who can bully defenders. For too long, Chelsea has relied on makeshift forwards or strikers that can't score. Delap brings striker instincts they've lacked since Costa. At the back, they bought in Jorel Hato, only 19 but already a leader in defence. Ajax trusted him with the captain's armband at times. He's fast, composed, and positionally sharp. And yes, that makes him the 49th signing in just 4 years, but this one actually fits the system. The truth, Chelsea doesn't just have depth, they have 2 full squads that could go toe-to-toe with anyone in the league. Now, if they find rhythm early, if they avoid injuries, and if the pieces click, then this team won't just fight for top 4. They'll be in the title conversation, for real. But Chelsea aren't the only ones shaking things up. Liverpool are back dominating, and they want to do it for the second time. Liverpool are back on top and are not looking down. They lifted the Premier League trophy last season, but instead of slowing down, they've accelerated. What's happening at Anfield right now isn't a rebuilding, it's not a refresh, it's a full-blown evolution. This is Klopp 2.0, but under Arne Slot. The pressing is still there, but now it's mixed with more controlled possession, more tactical switches, and smarter positional play. And the transfers, they've been calculated, not chaotic. Jeremy Frimpong is a massive piece. He doesn't just replace Trent's overlapping runs, he gives Liverpool something different: explosive pace, relentless energy, and the ability to turn defense into attack in seconds. Slot's system demands fullbacks who can stretch and damage, and Frimpong is built for that. In the midfield, Florian Wirtz is the brain. He's not just a number 10, he's a rhythm setter, someone who can unlock compact defenses, slide passes between lines, and shift the tempo on demand. With him, Liverpool finally has a true creative engine behind the front line. Up top, Hugo Ekitike brings chaos. Direct, aggressive, and fearless in one-on-ones, he's the kind of forward who forces defenders to panic. But the real bombshell? Alexander Isak. Liverpool is closing in on a deal, and if it happens, it changes everything. Isak's movement, link-up play, and composure in front of goal would make this attack the most complete it's been in years. Even defensively, they've covered ground. Kerkez, brought in as depth for the left-back spot, is reliable, strong on the ball, and fits the tactical structure without missing a beat. Put it all together, and what you see is dominance, not desperation. Liverpool isn't chasing one more title, they're aiming for complete control. They're looking to go unbeaten, relentless, unstoppable. And right now, that's terrifying for everyone else. This season's top 4 race, it's not a sprint, it's not even a marathon. It's an all-out war. Every one of these teams thinks they deserve a Champions League spot. Every one of them has spent big, planned deep, and built squads not just to compete, but to dominate. And the margins? They've never been this thin. A bad week could cost a manager his job. A draw at home could derail a season. A missed chance could be the difference between 4th and 7th. This isn't like previous seasons, where you had a clear gap between the elite and the rest. That gap has closed. Now everyone's in the fight, and there are more contenders than there are spots. 7 teams, 4 places, someone's going to fall. Probably more than one. And that's what makes the 2026 Premier League season so insane. It's not just a title race, it's survival at the top. But what do you think? Which team will come out on top? Well, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, check out our last video on the 2004 squad of Arsenal. Thank you.